Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. Today, we're bringing you a story that has quickly captured the attention of fans around the world. Breaking news, Hyun and son Ye-jin have been seen together at a pregnancy appointment, sparking warm reactions and widespread discussion online. What really happened during this quiet hospital visit? Has this moment touched so many fans? Stay with us as we take a closer look at the details behind this heartwarming sighting, starting right now. The news didn't arrive with flashing lights or official statements. It slipped into the public sphere quietly, one whispered sighting, one blurry recollection, one detail repeated just enough times to refuse dismissal. Early that morning, a handful of bystanders claimed they saw Hyun and son Ye-jin entering a medical facility together. No entourage, no fanfare. Just two familiar figures moving with deliberate calm. Their faces partially concealed. Their steps unhurried. At first, it sounded like another rumor destined to fade. The couple had long mastered the art of privacy, appearing only when necessary and disappearing just as quickly. But this time, the details aligned too closely to ignore. Timing, the location, the unmistakable presence of Hyun walking slightly ahead, turning back more than once as if to check that son Ye-jin was comfortable. Those who claimed to witness the moment described a striking stillness around them. Not secrecy, but intention. Son Ye-jin reportedly wore loose, neutral-toned clothing. Her posture relaxed yet guarded. Hyun, attentive and composed, stayed close enough that the distance between them felt purposeful, protective. Within hours, online communities erupted. Screens filled with speculation, slowed-down clips, and side-by-side comparisons of past appearances. Fans debated whether this was coincidence or confirmation. Skeptics urged caution. Supporters asked for respect. The tension built not because of what was seen, but because of what it suggested. For years, Hyun and son Ye-jin had represented a rare balance, fame without excess, without performance. Their marriage had been celebrated precisely because it felt grounded. This sighting, however, carried a different weight. It hinted at a new chapter unfolding quietly, away from announcements and headlines. As the story spread, the industry fell into a familiar rhythm of careful silence. No agency confirmations, no denials. That silence only sharpened public focus. An era where every milestone is broadcast. The absence of commentary felt deliberate and loaded with meaning. People began to look back. Recent interviews, subtle changes in schedules, small adjustments in public appearances that once seemed insignificant now felt like clues hiding in plain sight. The narrative, once steady, began to shift, slowly, irresistibly, toward a possibility few dared to name out loud. And just like that, a private moment became a public question. As the hours turned into days, the conversation evolved. Began as curiosity transformed into something more intense, anticipation layered with restraint. Fans didn't demand answers, they waited. Tone online softened, moving from speculation to concern, from excitement to quiet hope. Those close to the couple remained characteristically discreet. Insiders spoke only in generalities, emphasizing boundaries and urging patience. Yet even those measured words carried an undercurrent. Something meaningful was happening, and it deserved space. What struck many observers was not the possibility itself. Hyun and son Ye-jin moved through it. There was no attempt to redirect attention, no strategic appearances to dilute the narrative. Instead, they continued as they always had, calm, contained, resolute. Their silence felt less like avoidance and more like protection. The reported appointment became a symbol rather than a statement. To some, presented continuity, the natural progression of a partnership built on trust and time. To others, it was a reminder that even the most beloved figures are entitled to moments that do not belong to the public. Industry commentators noted how rare it was for a story of this magnitude to remain so understated. In a media landscape driven by immediacy, lack of confirmation paradoxically amplified its impact. The story didn't explode, it simmered, drawing attention precisely because it refused to escalate. Fans began sharing messages of support rather than questions. Words like gentle, respect, waiting appeared more frequently than speculation. It is as if the audience collectively agreed to step back, to observe without intrusion. Whether the sighting marked a turning point or simply a private routine moment remains unconfirmed. What is clear is the effect it had. reminded people that intimacy doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it passes quietly through familiar doors. Only by chance. Hyun Bin and son Ye-jin offered no conclusion, and perhaps that was the point. Their story has never followed the expected script. It has unfolded slowly, deliberately, shaped by choices made away from cameras. For now, the world waits. Not for proof, but for permission, to celebrate if invited, and to remain silent if not. And in that waiting, something rare has emerged, a shared understanding that some stories are most powerful when they are allowed to remain unfinished, held gently between possibility and privacy. Days that followed, the quiet surrounding the sighting grew heavier, not with suspicion, but with awareness. Something had shifted, and everyone could feel it. The conversation was no longer about confirmation. It was about meaning. Hyun Bin and son Ye-jin continued their schedules with the same restraint they had always practiced. No sudden appearances. No carefully timed smiles. No gestures aimed at reassurance. That consistency, paradoxically, spoke louder than any statement could have. To many, it suggested not secrecy, but stability, the kind that doesn't require explanation. Who claimed to have seen the couple that day began to speak more cautiously. Their recollections focused less on speculation and more on atmosphere. They described how Hyun Bin waited without impatience. Ye-jin moved with calm assurance. How the two exchanged glances that felt unremarkable yet deeply intimate. There was no visible anxiety. No urgency. Just familiarity. Detail mattered. Because what unsettled people wasn't the possibility of pregnancy. The realization that this moment had not been staged, managed, or curated. It was ordinary. World of celebrity. Ordinariness is rare. As discussions deepened, a broader reflection emerged. Fans began revisiting the couple's journey together, the years of friendship before romance. The careful pacing of their relationship. They had always chosen timing over attention. Seen through that lens, the reported appointment felt less like breaking news and more like continuity. Industry insiders quietly acknowledged the same thing. Whatever the truth of that day, aligned with who Hyun Bin and son Ye-jin had always shown themselves to be. Private, intentional, unrushed. Were not performers in their own lives. They were participants. The lack of official confirmation did not weaken the story. It refined it. Without headlines to react to. Forced to sit with uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, respect grew. The narrative slowed down. The tone softened. For many fans, this became a moment of maturity, not just for the couple, but for the audience itself. An unspoken agreement forming. Some chapters are not ours to open. Some joys are not diminished by silence. Bin and son Ye-jin had never promised transparency. They had only ever offered consistency. This moment. That consistency held. This was the beginning of a new chapter, or simply a private routine will eventually be known, or it won't. Either outcome feels acceptable now. Because what mattered most was not the answer, but the way the question was held. Quietly. Carefully. Without force. Perhaps that is the most telling sign of all, when a story no longer demands resolution, but earns patience instead. As this story draws to a close, what remains is not certainty, but clarity of a different kind. The sighting of Hyun Bin and son Ye-jin at a appointment was never just about confirmation or headlines. It became a moment that reminded the public how quiet milestones can carry the greatest weight, and how privacy, when respected, can be a form of grace. The moment marked the beginning of a new chapter or simply reflected a private routine. It revealed something deeper, a couple choosing to live their lives with intention rather than explanation. In a world that demands instant answers, silence felt steady, composed, and deeply human. Perhaps that is why the story resonated so strongly. It wasn't driven by spectacle, but by tenderness. Not by revelation, but by restraint. In that restraint, many found reassurance rather than frustration. Thank you for staying with us through this story from beginning to end. Thank you for reading thoughtfully, listening patiently, and allowing space for nuance and moments that deserve care. Appreciate your time and your trust. And we look forward to sharing more stories with you. Stories that go beyond breaking news and into the quieter truths behind it. Thank you for being here.